What's the weirdest thing you've seen or heard in the woods? He said, I saw a orb floating through the trees in the early AM during late season.
What were you
Hmm.
smoking?
I last year during late season I was hunting it may have been 2 years ago, but I was hunting the deer reduction zone here in Indiana. I was walking out and I saw like a string of like 30 lights going through the sky real fast. I was like, what the heck is that? They're all in a row. It was like SpaceX's satellites or something it ended up being, but it kind of
Mm.
freaked me out at first. Weirdest sound I've heard is I was tracking a buck one night after I'd shot him, and um, bobcats started crying out, and them things kind of are spooky
Oh yeah,
sounds.
they sound weird. Yeah.
Yeah, they sound like babies crying, like real loud. Um, what about you?
I don't know about sounds, but I've seen some crazy stuff over the years for sure. Um, One of them, probably the craziest thing, was actually something I captured on trail camera, and that was a an image of a skull floating in the air. That was back when we used to have actual film cameras.
Yeah,
There was a box that had a button that would click, when a deer come
yeah.
by. And I had set the camera up um, right behind a house that's just down the street from me, where a whole family disappeared except for the kid, and they blamed the kid for murdering him. And I went back to check the camera, and there's a picture in there of a skull floating above a deer running, like a spooked deer running. You should see if you find a picture. I think it's called Spook Buck in the
I
article
probably have.
section of the forum. But it had it had another picture that kind of looked like a skull, but not as much. But that that picture would have really been a huge deal because of how exact that skull looked, but nobody would believe me. They always thought it was altered somehow.
Yeah.
I did get a guy named Sanio. I think I'm pronouncing that right. He worked for Quad Graphics, and I was working at Quad Graphics, and he did these. He was really into imaging, so he did all this intense imaging for their company. But on the side, he had a business where he worked for the military and for the government, and he would look at UFO photos and stuff, and he was able to decipher if they're fake or real,
Hmm.
and they use him for that skill. So I told him about it, and he wanted to see the picture, the negative, and he wanted to go over it, and he went over it, and then he called me in his office, and he said that it was when you have a camera, when you have a lens in front of the lens, because those old cameras had a plastic lens and a clear plastic lens in front of the camera.
Hmm.
He says if there's a piece of dust on it, you get an orb, and he says it's almost always a completely round dot. He says what you did is you got a picture of that orb up against the screen there, or a piece of dust that's on the lens. And he says the funny thing is, it says if you blow that up, and now the picture was a lot better, more pristine, when you had it on a because that's low quality.
Right.
Um, but when you blow it up, you could actually see the teeth in the skull,
Mm.
and you could see detail, and it was so bizarre. And he was just like infatuated with that picture. But still, I nobody ever believed me about the picture as far as not my friends and stuff, but I mean as far as like media or anything like that is making some money off of it or something. But
Yeah.
still pretty cool.
Yeah.
You able
What's
to blow that picture up a little, even though it's low quality? Maybe you can see something on it.
like
Yeah,
getting
that is
closer?
that is actually just a dust orb on the screen, and that was right behind a house of a family that got murdered. Right when the camera was put there, they were fine, and that's after it was picked up after they were murdered.
Yeah. That's creepy.
That's,
And
uh, that,
what's creepy too is like this little buck here. He's like you can tell he's like spooked or
yeah,
something
what
too.
spooked them? The camera was there forever. Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know.
it was a bizarre thing. That for anybody that follows crimes, that was the Karnak family. The kid, after he supposedly murdered him, changed his name to Anderson, right after that. And it always blew my mind. They had no evidence at all that he did it, and they were able to convict him of murder.
Really?
Yeah, there was no evidence that he was the one who did it. His family was supposed to go up north for a trip, and he said he didn't go along because he didn't want to, and they never returned. And they found the car up north with the door open, and the mom's purse sitting on the front seat with money in view inside the purse. And the family was never seen again. And then, like, I think it was 2 years later or something, they found the father's skeletal remains in I don't know if it was Arizona or Utah or something, in the desert.
Kidnapped him.
And they were able to figure out it was him and then do DNA, because next to him was the family dog, which was also missing, and it had a collar on the skeleton that had the name tag on it. So then that led them to believe who it was, and then they did DNA on the bones and found out it was the old man, but they never found the mom or the sister or whatever. And yeah, just a bizarre story. But they claim he did that and then drove back down here or something. But how did he go with them in their car? Abduct him where there's no DNA in the car, in the cabin, or in his house. And they said they thought he murdered him in the house where the camera was. But you should have saw the number of cops and stuff they had over there. They didn't find any DNA in the yard, in the house, anywhere. They had dogs over there, everything. And they didn't find anything in the car or in that building. And then how would he get that guy down south? They convicted him on he went to college near where the bodies were found, or where the body was found. And that his personal car had a lot of mileage on it that he couldn't explain. Like, he didn't know where he had gone. And I don't know how you convict somebody on something like that.
It's weird.
Yeah.
That's the night that the lights went out in Georgia. That
See what
Reba
happened
McEntire song?
about weird things.
Yeah. Oh.
I also, one time I found a complete ram skeleton on a full ram. It had to be somebody's pet or something.
Yeah.
No, it's not sitting here. I don't know where it's laying. But out in, I took the head back, but I found it out in the middle of the cattails, about a mile out.
That's crazy. I mean, it is crazy to find it, but it's like animals get out and die, but yeah. It's random.
Yeah,
we found.
I should have told that one first, because then it would have probably had a little like, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, not after the ghost,
right.
The floating skeletons of the family that died in your trail camera picture. We found cattle out in the middle of the public land around here. Cattle get loose, and you find a big cattle skull somewhere in the middle of public land, but they get in them hills and can't figure out how to get out.
If I could tell one more without boring people too bad, but a couple of years back, I was turkey hunting, and I was driving around the marsh, and I seen a tom out in the field. So I'm like, oh, I can kill that. So I pull up to the parking lot, and there's already a truck there, or a car, or like an SUV there. So like I drive off. I'm like, damn it, because obviously it was in plain view. So I drive around the block, look around, and that's what I'll do when I'm running gun, and I'll go look for them in these open fields, and then figure out where they're going and try to get in front of them. Mm-hmm. So then I make my rounds around, and I come back, and that tom is still out there. Just moved over a little bit, and I look in a car still there, and I'm like, are they hunting or aren't they? And I'm thinking, well, I'm just gonna creep over and see if they got a gun case in there or decoys or something, see if there's anything that shows me they're a hunter before, because I don't want to ruin their hunt.
Right.
So I park in the parking lot, I walk over to the car, and I put my face up against the car, and I kind of look in the windows, and there's two people in there having sex. And they jumped up and did not like that. I was just like, oh. I never got out of there so fast.
You forgot about the turkey.
Yeah.
If you want to watch another video, click right here. But don't forget to subscribe before you leave.